What's up, everybody? We're back for Fool of a Took. We are here for chapter 12, Flight to the Ford. This has been a heck of a journey. This is the end of book 1.
It is.
Yeah.
12
We made
chapters,
it.
right?
Right, but not the end of the Fellowship of the Ring.
No.
This is the end of book 1, but not the end of the first book.
So we're like exactly halfway through the first book.
Yes.
Yep.
So, for those reading along, this is, I think it's a little more than halfway through the book, right? It's 22 chapters. So,
Yeah.
we got 10 chapters left, but this is the culmination of book 1. This is one hell of a chapter, if I may say so. I had so much anxiety reading this one and excitement, and it's there's so many things that happen, and obviously we're gonna dive into it. But did everybody feel good reading this? Or feel good like enjoying this one?
I loved it, but I also had a lot of anxiety. Like my palms were sweating through most of it.
You were like, "Mom, spaghetti."
I was gonna say.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Definitely. So last chapter, Fatty Bulger is attacked by Black Riders at Crick Hollow, but the Bucklanders scare them away and he survives. Then the Black Riders attack the Prancing Pony, but they cannot find the Hobbits. That morning, Strider and the Hobbits go to leave, but someone has released all of the horses and ponies at the inn. They are forced to purchase the last pony in town from Bill Ferny, and then they make their way to Weathertop. Once they arrive at Weathertop, they find no sign of Gandalf, but they are immediately attacked in full force by the Black Riders, and Frodo ends up getting stabbed with a knife by the tallest of the riders, who's also wearing a crown.
That was like the most concise summary. That was fabulous.
It was so hard. I wrote so much, and it kept being like, what's the big point here? Boil it down.
Yep.
I you know what I got inspiration from? The Song of Beren and Luthien.
There it is.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
God,
A
right?
285-page book boiled down to 2 pages.
Yeah, World War II in 10 words.
I learned from the master. All right, moving right along.
Yeah.
All right, so chapter 12, A Flight to the Ford. Frodo wakes up and he's kind of just like, he's next to a big bonfire. It's clear that they've dragged him there. They've built the fire up. Same night, immediate aftermath of the attack. And he kind of like is like, what? And everybody is overjoyed. The hobbits are overjoyed that he's not actually dead. He's only mostly dead. This is great. This is a vast improvement. And they're all chattering and stuff. And Frodo finally like figures out from Sam, like, what did they see? What did they experience? They saw some shadows come up the hill at them, and it was very scary. And then Frodo disappeared, which was very bad. And then the shadows rushed past them. Then they heard Frodo's voice as though it was like underground or far away, but in great distress. And then they just kind of stumbled over his body that they discovered. And he was out. He was done. He wasn't awake. He wasn't conscious. He wasn't anything. Strider said, bring him to the fire, build up the fire, hang tight. And he bounced out to like scout around. So Frodo learns all this in pretty fast order from Sam. And like, it sounds like it's been a bad night for everybody, not just Frodo, even though Frodo was stabbed. So Strider comes back and Sam has been like not quiet in his, maybe this guy's full of shit. Maybe he just talks in the third person. He's weird. Maybe this is how we die. So Strider comes like walking out of the dark, spooks Sam and is like, don't worry, I'm not a Black Rider, but this is all very bad because they're gone. They're not here, but they're nearby. And this is all very bad. Mm-hmm. But the good news is, Sam, Frodo has whatever that stout little heart is that Gandalf believes that all hobbits may or may not have. This was his moment. He's made of sterner stuff. He's going to be okay, buddy. He's going to be fine. Shh, stop crying.
Don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope. So the sun finally starts to come up, and Frodo has been unconscious for most of the night at this point. And as the sun comes up, the light starts to hit the world, and they notice that there's a cloak on the ground. It's the only evidence of the attack. Strider picks it up, and it's got a hole like a foot off the ground where Frodo managed to stab someone in the ankles. And Strider makes a point of saying to Frodo and everyone else, it's like, the knife isn't what mattered here, right? It was the name you called out. It was the invocation of these like elvish gods. That was the thing that saved us, not the knife. That was a
Yes.
good try, buddy. Good try. Frodo does not feel good after that because that's what got him stabbed. So he's also looking around and he finds this awful blade and he's like, aha, Frodo, this is what poked a hole in you. And it's this like evil looking knife and it like the blade melts into nothing in the sunlight. And everyone agrees this is a very bad sign and it's very evil. Strider kind of clocks immediately that this is a cursed blade. He's going to need to do some stuff. He sings a song over the knife and like, I don't know, elf magic maybe. We don't really know. And then says basically, we're going to make some tea. Get some hot water. We're going to bathe his wounds. I'm going to go get us some medicinal herbs. I'm going to find what I can. And while he's gone, Frodo's thinking like, am I maimed for life? Will I ever be whole again? Will I die here? I'm so
Yeah.
cold.
Because he can't use his arm at all.
No.
Right, yeah. His whole side is numb. And it was just a
He
little...
can't lift it.
Yeah, it was and it was just a little in and out. He's not going to bleed to death. Yeah. So while he's going through all this, Strider comes back, throws some leaves in some tea.
After he chews him up.
After yes.
He baby birds that shit.
Baby birds. I'm going to let that stand. He baby birds that shit. And then he says, all right, by the way, it's time. We're leaving right the fuck now. Because, guys, the fact is, they're going to come back. And, we may as well get as close to Rivendell as we can before they come for us. Because night here is just as dangerous as night anywhere else out there. So we got to book it. So they look at Frodo, and Frodo's looking at them, and Frodo's like, I really don't want to walk again. He's thinking it. He's not saying it. And they put him on the back of Bill's pony, who has, supernatural horrors aside, is doing great. And supernatural horrors included, this is a better life than Bill Ferny's pony. Right? Like that role is over. Now he's Frodo's taxi because they take all the food and everything else and they split it up amongst the hobbits. And now everyone is back to square one with Strider going, how much can you carry? And they go and they all walk. Frodo's the only one riding. Frodo looks like shit, feels like shit. He's not thinking straight. And they plunge in the woods at the base of Weathertop. They are running, right? They're moving quickly and quietly, but they are in flight. They are waiting for these riders. So into the trees they go, into this close forest. They can't see shit. And it's not a good feeling. It's not a good place to be for any of them. But then the woods break and they come to the road. And they're not going to get back on the road, but they got to cross it. And it's wide open. And so they bolt across. And as they bolt across, they hear those screams on the wind again, those hunting calls from back when, like the old forest. A call and a weird answer. The riders are there. They watched them cross the road. Like this is like
I didn't even think about that.
like they are watching.
Yeah.
And the reason they're only watching is because nobody's in good shape here. Strider says like the reason we're not being murdered right now is because they think they've already won. They
Kind of like a cat when it catches like a mouse, it's playing with them.
they stabbed Frodo. Frodo's gonna die. They know it. They
Yeah.
know what they hit him with. That's it. He's done. Because Strider determined that a little bit of the blade had chipped off inside of Frodo. The rest melted away in the daylight, but there's a piece in there kind of just working its way deeper or something. It's a bad time.
Yeah, he gets more cold and numb
Yep.
as the day goes
Yep.
on.
Magic knife causing Frodo to fade. And he's having a worse and worse and worse and worse time. Like he's fading in and out of like real consciousness. He feels like the shadows are closing in even in the middle of the day. People are getting fuzzy. Like it's bad. And the riders rightly think they have won. They're going to wait. It's like a pursuit predator. It's like where you wound an animal and then you just chase it for a couple of days and eventually it collapses from blood loss and exhaustion. They're waiting. Hobbits aren't that big. There's not that much blood. It's got to be quick. This is fine. And so they go into the wilderness and it is empty and bleak and nothing. Because remember, no one and nothing lives out here. This is the barren wilds. It is 4 days of shitty sleep, shitty traveling, and Frodo getting worse every step of the way. 4 days. And that's it. And all they're looking for is the last bridge. They need to make it to this bridge. And then they find it. And they peer out of the woods and Strider's like, hold up. They don't see anything. There's no one there. This is a perfect place for an ambush. So Strider children, wait. And he goes up and he checks, and it's all clear. But he finds a stone, a gem, a beryl, like a green elf stone, in the mud at the base of the bridge. And he's like, it's A signed. Maybe it means we're safe. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but we're not hanging out to find out. And so they book it. They cross the bridge. So if you'll remember, this is one of 2 rivers they needed to cross. Again, water is the eternal enemy. But they've done it. They're halfway there. The other ford they need to make it to is the Ford of Bruinen. And that's going to be the river. Once they cross that, they are right outside of Rivendell. That's where they got to get. So...
one river down.
One river down, one river to go. A whole lot of bad garbage in between.
Yep.
So back into the woods they go on the other side of the bridge because they got to stay off the road. Because the road is, again, where people are looking for you to be on the road. The road's a good place to be found. So into these awful woods, and they start seeing like ruins on these hills because it's very rough country. They start seeing these like ominous looking ruins and stacks of stones and stuff, and it's all very bad. And nobody's got a good feeling about this. And they know they're in troll country. And Frodo is starting to think like, isn't this like where Bilbo found trolls because in the Hobbit, in the book that Bilbo has written, the secret book that Mary spied on a million years ago, one of those parts is like, this is Bilbo's story from there and back again, right? To the mountain, fight the dragon, come home. On the way out, they found trolls here in these woods.
And that actually happened in the book The Hobbit.
Yes. As far as Frodo's concerned, this is a fact. And they're looking around, they're going, oh, what is all this? Did trolls build this? And Strider's like, no, trolls don't build nothing. These were built by the evil people who fought, like the evil men who fought on the side of Angmar and the great enemy.
Well,
Not our great
obviously.
enemy, the greatest enemy. But good news, everybody. When they destroyed the North Kingdom and all the good people here, they were also all killed. Everyone's dead. This is okay. And so, like, and Pippin takes a second and he's like, Strider, how do you know these things? And Strider just kind of like throws over his shoulders, like, the heirs of Elendil do not forget their history. And Pippin's like, if you know, you know.
It's so true.
Yeah, and it's like, well, have you ever been to Rivendell? Yes, I've been to Rivendell. Oh, nice. Yeah? Yeah, Rivendell is for lovers. That's where his heart is.
That's his home.
It's his home. That's, well, if a vagabond nightmare murderer can said to have a home, Rivendell's probably a good start.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, actually, it turns out that Strider says he spent a lot of his childhood there, and he learned a lot of things from the elves and all this other stuff. But
Basically raised him.
yeah, they raised him there. That is his home, and they're going there now. If you remember, Strider says like 12 days from Weathertop to Rivendell, right?
Right.
And we're like, what are we, 5-6 days in? Maybe 5
About
days.
6? I think
About
so.
6 days. So we're about halfway there.
Yeah.
And Frodo is fading. He is. Remember
especially
that
at night.
Remember that fun little like, oh, I shall be a wraith joke. Maybe it's not a joke, but the hobbits are worn out because Strider is just pushing day in, day out.
Yes.
And all they've got is shitty food and hills and trees and now rain.
So it's really nice.
That's amazing. Everyone's doing great.
It's a great fall.
Big contrast to when they first started walking, and they were like, "This ain't bad."
Yeah. I'll walk. I can't
Like
believe I'm
sunny and beautiful when they leave Bree.
Yeah.
Right. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and Tolkien makes a point of saying like, if the hobbits hadn't just been nearly murdered the night before, they would have appreciated that this had been the single best part of their journey so far.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was like a week ago, and now it's bad because now they have more rain and less food and more rain and no sleep. He's pushing them through on like nothing,
Yeah.
and these little sleepy little guys are just stumbling through.
Pitter patter, pitter patter.
Just yeah, the sad little slapping of feet.
Can I assume they're not wearing shoes for any of this?
Oh no,
They're not.
Okay, so hobbits don't wear shoes.
That's what I thought.
They have these big weird feet.
Yeah.
Way too expensive.
They're basically built-in shoes on their feet.
Okay, well, that's convenient.
Calluses. So during this whole time, Frodo starts to like hallucinate. What are you laughing at?
Fur on the top, calluses on the bottom.
Whoa!
They're nature's
Wondering
slipper.
wondering what else they don't wear. That's all.
Yep. And Frodo starts hallucinating about being home again, and he starts like remembering like, oh, how nice it is to just smoke a pipe in the sunshine in the Shire and just enjoy being alive and not being hunted by cruel beings from beyond Nightmare Land. And it's great, and the dream is nice, and then he like Dream Boy notices that like everything is perfect. The tobacco's perfect, the sun is perfect. Hell, even the weird shadows staring at me over the hedge are pretty okay. Wait, what?
Right.
So they wake up one morning and the rain has stopped. And it's actually like an invigorating morning. Everybody's just so thankful for this one small thing, right? You ever had like a shit week and one nice thing happens?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
like you have that one.
RJ really connected with that. Like, yeah.
Like you're about to be like, this is it. Life just is awful. I'm
She's
gonna
like,
have a
Kool-Aid man. She
miserable.
was like, oh yeah.
Like, existence is just miserable now. This is my fate in life. And then one nice thing happens. You're like, there can be sunshine, hope, and light again.
So for me, sometimes that is just a cup of coffee
Yeah.
and a clear morning. Like, what is that for you?
Just a really good night's sleep, waking up, the sun shining, my cat's rubbing my leg,
Oh, kitties.
making a good cup of tea, and just being like at peace. And
There
that
you go.
simple, small thing.
Chris?
It's so dumb, but usually when I see the sunset,
Yeah. Like a nice sunset?
yeah, I just like I have to like double take it and be like, oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Nice.
For me, probably like a nice, relaxed cup of tea on the couch with a purring cat in my lap.
Oh, that's so good.
That's just the best.
So all the hobbits are having this moment of like, oh, thank God, it's so nice. And Strider disappears up a hill to go scout ahead. And then he comes back and he says, hey guys, good news. There's no more rain. But they knew that. Bad news, we're lost. This is news to them. This is bad news. We are way too far north. We are headed into troll country. We will be eaten if we continue this way. Our only hope is to climb these hills, find the road, and beeline to the fort of Bruin and, hell or high water. That's it. That's the only option. That's all we got. We don't got food. Frodo doesn't have time. And when these things find us, they'll kill us.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? For those who are, I already have. For those who are not reading but listening, we are saying Ford with a D, not Fort with a T.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, yeah. So the ford of Bruinen across
Ford
the
of
second
the river
river.
Bruinen,
Yeah.
assuming you have to like walk across it. There's not a bridge.
Right,
Okay.
right. So Strider takes Sam and Mary up another hill to kind of scout out and like figure out what their next path is. Leaves Frodo and Pippin. And at this point, like, I picked up on something. Has Pippin ever been trusted to do anything?
No.
No,
not.
absolutely not.
Right? Like
Absolutely
it's no, he's not picked to accompany anyone up a hill or look at anything or do anything. Like the reason he's with Frodo when they leave Bag End is because Mary, the responsible one, had to go ahead and do the real work.
Yep.
Right.
So like it's never Pippin, always Sam
Yes.
And Mary.
and Mary.
Smerry.
It's Mary. So they come up this hill, they go down this hill, and they find that they're still in the woods. And Pippin does one thing. He looks, guys, I found a path. I think we're on a path, like an overgrown path in the forest. And everyone's kind of like, yes,
We can see that.
keep walking.
That's why we're on it.
Right. And yes, right. It's not just the path of least resistance for,
Yeah.
we didn't, whatever. So they walk down this road, this path in the woods, this overgrown nightmare thing that was made by what looks like really big things, big people. And they come across a door in the side of a hill, like a shit old door that's ajar. And I don't remember who, somebody goes, oh, fuck, that's a troll hole if I ever seen one. And it's a troll hole. So,
There's bones inside.
Strider says, children, wait outside. And he pops inside and he looks around. He kicks over some bones and some empty jars. And everybody's kind of like, oh, fuck, there are trolls. This is real now. This isn't an abstract idea. This is the man-eating monsters. And so Merry and Pippin like fuck off to go like look around because whatever. And Pippin is like determined to be like, I'm not afraid. I'm a big tall boy. This is fine. I'm gonna go with Merry. I'm going out. I'm going.
A big boy.
Yeah. I'm gonna go on a little scout mission. Lasts all 30 seconds. Pippin and Merry come screaming back to there's trolls. They're right over there. They are scared shitless. They have found trolls. And Strider's like, yeah, I guess we should go check it out, and like breaks off a stick and is like, lead on, let's go find them. And they're like, there they fucking are. And it's these like 3 giant boulders of beings, like, and they're like hunched in a circle. And they're like terrified. The hobbits are fucking terrified. And Strider like, ho ho, wake up, old stones, and just starts slapping these things on the ass with a stick. And they don't move.
Yes.
Because they are in fact stones. They're stones. And Frodo's like, oh, these must be the trolls from The Hobbit, the book The Hobbit, that Bilbo and Gandalf and the dwarves found. Because what happened to them was, long story short, at dawn, the sun came up and the trolls were caught outside and turned into stone.
Can they not be in the sunlight?
Yes, that is apparently a thing about trolls.
Okay.
Yes.
Aragorn makes a point of that. Frodo's like, oh, we've forgotten our family history. And Strider's like, yeah, you haven't just forgot family history. You forgot all your troll history. What? Yeah, they can't be out in daylight, kids. This is fine. You know what? As a matter of fact, we're going to have lunch right here. So they have a giggle and a lunch and a song, right?
I love that.
Typical meal
Yeah.
of this book.
Yeah,
Even
you know what I
Mary's
mean?
like, can someone start singing?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
going
everyone
on?
has a laugh, a really hearty meal, a long song, and it just refills your cup in so many ways. You're not just eating, but you're like, you're having this great moment with your friends.
Yeah, like this is like, this is
My
a
lunches are never like this.
yeah, this is a legitimately good moment for them because they are days of being hunted. Like their nerves are frayed.
Right.
Even Strider is like getting beat down a little bit.
Frodo's like half dead.
yes, Frodo is actively dying.
He's like, I can't sing. Sorry.
I can't move my right arm or whatever arm it was.
There are no songs to sing. And Sam's like, I know a funny little tune. And he sings this like nonsense song about like a hobo and a troll.
Yes.
A hobo named Tom.
Yeah. Well, not Tom Bombadil.
Are we sure?
It turns out that Sam is the author of this funny little song that has everybody laughing.
Which is so cool.
And like everybody's like, oh, wait, Sam, so you also write music? And everybody's like, fuck, we're learning some things about Samwise Gamgee. Maybe you'll be a warrior or a wizard next. And Sam is like, absolutely fuck, well, no, nope.
Such foreshadowing.
No. I am a gardener and maybe a pack mule. That's it. But like this is like a legitimate moment where all of them can like breathe a sigh of relief because the hobbits all thought they were about to be killed by trolls. Strider knew they weren't about to be killed by trolls, but has not forgotten that they are going to be killed by riders.
Right.
So they have their little lunch, they have their song and their giggle. Everybody feels a bit better because remember, this is like the first nice day.
You also they kind of needed that.
Yes.
You know?
Strider's probably looking around going, these are broken shells. They just got to sit and have a little meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does that for them. And it's
He's
nice.
learned a lot in 5 days about his companions.
But not only that, I think for him,
right?
his whole thing was, I'm tired of not having any friends, and I would like to not ask
God,
for this.
right?
And I feel like he feels this kinship with them, and he feels probably
Interesting.
like he let them down, and he
Well,
feels like.
it's not even that he feels like he did let them down.
Yeah.
And so I think he also needs this as much as the hobbits.
Yeah.
This moment of just feeling together and
Camaraderie.
You know who else needed this?
Yeah.
This guy.
I needed a moment reading this chapter where I was like,
Yeah, it's all bad, right? It's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
But ironically, in this like ruin of this almost terrible event, now it's this really happy, warm reunion, like place where they can pull themselves together and be really happy and remember the past and like have hope for the future.
Yeah.
You know, that's
What-
really cool.
What do you think the odds are that Strider says we're all just going to sit down and have a fun little lunch because he thinks they're all going to die anyway?
Right. I mean, that'd be on point with Strider's mythology. Or,
he knows they're what, halfway there.
and in this scene, an alternative casting would have been Tim Allen.
No.
Just slightly hungover with sunglasses on going, yeah, sure, whatever you want. We're going to die anyway. Who cares?
Yes. So,
Anyway.
yep. So, all right.
my God.
So they set off again, right? They have their lunch. Turns out hunger is the best spice because they are down to nothing. So they are on the road now, and they are just gonna run for the ford. And they hear that hooves again immediately. Clip, 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 clip. They hear this again, and everybody's shit in the bed. and Strider's like, get on the ground, hide, put the pony behind a rock. I don't give it, hide. And Strider's like listening. And they hear clip, clop, clip, clop, clip. And then they hear like bells jingling, like little bells. And then all of a sudden, like Strider's face lights up and he's about it. And there's a white horse with a big glow in the dark elf comes around the corner. And it is just like this moment of like Strider jumps up and he yells something in Elvish and the guy yells back and they yell at each other for a couple seconds. And then he's like, guys, it's fine. This is Glorfindel. Elrond has sent out these badass riders to help the sad little hobbits that are on the road. It turns out Glorfindel is one of the guys who can go toe-to-toe with Black Riders because he chased 3 of them off the bridge. He chased them off the bridge. Oh, shit. The last bridge. The bridge too far. He chased them off of that shit and then left the stone, the barrel of the elf stone, for them as a sign to be like, an elf was here. He got more money than God. Boom. Rocks in the mud or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. But he's been chasing these Black Riders back and forth along the road, which is why for most of a week they haven't murdered the hobbits.
Yes.
Because of Glorfindel.
Yeah, and Glorfindel's like, yeah, I've been busy, guys. I'm so glad you could join me.
He was keeping that road clear.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, wait, you come from Rivendell? Did Gandalf send you? Oh, no. Absolutely. No, we have not seen Gandalf. What actually happened was Inglorian or somebody told Elrond that bad things were happening and that you were mixed up in it and that you were heading this way. So we figured you would need all the help you could get.
Good old Gildor.
Good old Gilder. So Strider immediately catches Glorfindel up on what's going on, including like, here's this like really cool knife hilt. Evil as fuck. And he looks at Strider and he's like, you touching that with your bare hands? Like, and he looks at it and he says, there's a bunch of evil writing on this. You probably can't see it because you don't got the elf eyes, but like maybe don't handle that very much. Bring that. It's going to be important. Also, let me see Frodo. You know, he practices his like healing touch on Frodo and is like, he probes the wound a little bit. And it's like, oh, there's something in there. This is bad. You're gonna die. So
he doesn't say that.
He doesn't, but he almost infers it with his tone.
He doesn't not say
He
it.
just whispers it in his ear. He's like, you're gonna die. And then he's like, we're totally fine, guys. You're definitely dead.
And he's like, this is beyond my elfin magic. We need to get you to Rivendell. Hopefully Elrond can help you. But
Sticks his thumb up Frodo's butt. He's like, does it hurt?
Cough. Turn your head and cough, kid.
He's kind of like, hopefully Elrond can help you, but if not...
So, right. So he takes Frodo and he's like, by the way, you're going to ride on the good horse.
Oh, and this is one of my favorite lines.
So he puts him up on the horse and is like, hey, if all else fails, this horse is going to run like hell to Rivendell and you'll be fine. And Frodo's like, I'm not going to leave all you guys behind to danger and to die. And Glorfindel's like, no, bud, you are what they're chasing. We will be fine if you leave. Everyone else will be fine.
He is what brings them peril.
Right. And everyone is like beat ass dead at this point. And they are just, even the little hobbits are stumbling and everyone's having trouble keeping up with this like immortal elf warlord.
Our light isn't on.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry. It wasn't all the way on.
All right.
Now it's on.
Perfect. Something was wrong. And it turns out what's wrong with everyone is that they're not drunk. So Glorfindel takes these, everybody's tired and Glorfindel's like, hey, drink up, and hands them a little flask with clear liquor in it. No flavor, no burn. Everybody, whoo, feels great.
The food tastes better.
Uh-huh. Hunger is the best spice because, again, they're eating stale bread and dry fruit. And if you've ever eaten either of those things, you know what?
Together.
Yeah, throw some liquor on top. You may as well. These guys are like on like 5 hours of sleep a night max. And Glorfindel's got no pity in his heart. He's like, I've been doing this for 3,500 years. They're waiting for us.
Yeah.
They're behind us. They're ahead of us. This is going to get worse before it gets better. But we got to keep moving. So they pop back into the woods and they go into this like weird embanked tunnel type thing. And they can almost like see the ford. And they're just like, okay, we're going to go. And then they start hearing hooves behind them. And Glorfindel's just like, run, run, run,
Fly.
go, fly. So he like slaps his horse. Frodo shoots forward. Glorfindel and Strider turn around to face what's coming out of the woods behind them, which is riders, dark riders. And the hobbits like scatter like mice. These things come bolting out of the woods. And Glorfindel's like, run, Frodo. And Frodo's like, what? And
I didn't hear you.
Yeah. And he's like watching the riders emerge and they stop. And like Frodo becomes aware after a second that like he's not stopping because he wants to. There's something in him that is being
Controlling
commanded to stop. He has this moment where, and this is really interesting, this like fear and hatred comes out of his heart. And he's like, fuck you. And Glorfindel's like, go, fucking go. But he's not talking to Frodo anymore. He's talking to the horse in Elvish. And the horse is like, this I can get behind. And runs like the wind. Frodo has a real bad time. He just kind of grabs the mane and leans in because behind him are 5 riders.
Yeah.
And ahead of him are 4 more. 4 of them come out of the woods on the left. 2 of them head towards the ford further out. 2 of them ride up to the road to meet him. And he's like, nope, this is it. I'm just done. I'm just fucked. In this like horror state, he realizes that this white horse is smoking everyone. The 5 riders behind are way behind. He manages to get like within a hair's breadth of the 2 riders on the road that are going to cut him off, whips right past them, whips right through the other ones. He doesn't even recall getting through there. Just a bunch of splashes, and he's across. He gets to the far bank, and he's kind of conscious of the fact that I made it. I'm over. Fuck you. And he turns around. And he's like, go back to Mordor. And they laugh. And they're like, no, come back we'll take you. Come on, buddy. We're
Give
going.
you a ride.
Yeah. We are all going to Mordor. You don't get this. Frodo is like, by Elbereth and Luthien the Fair, you will not have me. You will not have this ring. Get fucked. And
Direct quote.
and the lead rider is like, the dark rider is just like, oh, we're doing magic now? Stands up in his saddle and like does some magic hand shit, and Frodo gets hit by an evil bus of feelings.
Yes.
It's bad. His
Little bussin'.
yeah. His little sword shatters into 1,000 pieces. He is feeling like he's having a heart attack and a panic attack, and like the light is just being squeezed out of him, and he knows it. And so these 3 of these riders come like trotting over the water at him because again, it's a ford. It's meant to be passable. It's like the horse's hooves are getting wet, and Frodo's like, I have truly fucked up. And he's just waiting for the night to come in. And then he's aware of like the rushing of water. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen a flash flood or seen a video of a flash flood.
Yeah.
But this wall of water comes down and there's like horses and figures and swords made out of like foam and it's wild. He's probably like brain cells are dying. That's what's causing this. But those 3 riders just get washed up and they're gone in a heartbeat. And as Frodo, like as the light goes away and the blackness closes in, and just before Frodo falls off the horse again, he sees like a figure and a bunch of small figures with like torches, spooks them from behind into the river, and then they're all dead.
Yeah.
At least washed away.
Washed away, whatever. And then Frodo finishes falling off the horse and like hits his little head and probably has a
Fade to
concussion.
black.
And that's it. That's the end of book 1.
He heard and saw no more.
It's called Flight to the Ford.
Yeah.
And I feel like it should have been called Fight for the Ford.
Yes.
I feel like the flight to the ford only took place over the last like 3 pages of that chapter, that 17-page chapter.
Like it just felt like Indiana Jones when the ball starts like rolling
so
down
much
the road. It's like,
anxiety.
the whole time. Like, oh my God. First things first, I know this is so dumb, but Sam choking up with tears, asking Strider what happened to my master.
Will Frodo be okay?
Yeah, like
That was so sweet.
it was so sweet, and I really like in that moment was like, man, like this gardener really cares about his employer.
But also, like 3 paragraphs ahead, he's standing over Frodo with a sword drawn out, protecting him, like, come at him. He thinks he's dead. and he's protecting in his mind his pale corpse. And then he realizes he may not be dead, and he starts choking back tears and like is just sobbing at one point.
Yeah. He's very emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional, very protective. So all in on Frodo, the perfect companion to have on this arduous journey.
His whole ass purpose from the word go is, Samwise, you were going to help Frodo. And
Like
he
protect him.
He's a protector.
and he
He's also a
identifies with that.
caregiver from all living things, from gardening to people.
I think that it was kicked into overdrive once Sam heard Butterbur fuck up. And
Yeah.
he realized if you disobey or upset Gandalf, seriously bad things are going to happen.
I think it was before that because he's not. I think he just
not
loves,
emotional before that,
No, I
though.
think he loves Frodo actually before that.
But have you guys ever been in a
Sure, but he's not emotional though. I mean, he cries twice.
I mean, he cried when he was told he was going to meet elves.
Yeah, but have you guys ever
Have you guys started the journey?
Sorry, take back everything I said.
No, really though. Have you guys but have you guys ever been at a job or at a place or in a group or an organization or whatever? Whatever.
Besides Laura, no, I'm just kidding.
But Laura, we kept in a cage. So, but if you're a normal person and you've been a part of something, we've all, at one point in your life or another, you have just been kind of there.
Yeah.
And you've just been kind of like, I'm here, but not really special. Like, there's whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of everybody who wants to be special, wants to be cool, wants to have a reason
Feel
and
a
a purpose.
Yeah.
Sam literally got ripped through a window, and a wizard was like, "You got a job now, and
You have
it's
a
fucking
purpose."
important, and the world may depend on it."
Little quest.
He's in.
I got to be honest. The first moment of this chapter where I was like, started getting like chills was when the blade like sort of melts. and
Yeah, that was
evaporates.
insane.
Yeah.
Was that
Anybody
from the
else like
sunlight?
think that was
Some
the coolest
dark
thing ever?
magic.
Sunlight, right?
I couldn't
Yeah,
figure
okay.
out why it happened as soon as Strider picked it up.
The power
I
of
was like,
light over
"What?"
dark.
Okay.
That's just it.
Because it was under Frodo's body.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was hidden. His body was
Not
while he was
exposed
suntanning
to
his neck.
UV rays. Got it.
Yeah. So it turns out UV rays is the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, radiation.
Yeah. But I thought that moment when that, like,
So, like, what would happen if you microwaved one of them?
We've already learned that this entire
Microwaves,
world,
not UV rays.
this entire world would not exist with modern technology.
I want to just real fast bring up the healing plant.
Yeah.
Athelas.
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 Athelas? Athelas?
I
First
looked
of all-
it up. It's not real.
It's not real?
It's not real.
Oh.
Wow.
Tolkien made
that
it
was
up.
that was what my question was going to be. Is like, not that there's a plant that just like heals you, but like obviously there are plants that have healing properties. Is this a real thing? That's a bummer. It's not.
Yeah, I'm the plant guy. I looked it up immediately.
I
The
never,
plant guy?
Yeah.
But I never. Well, do you not know what her job is?
I don't know what your job.
My master's degree is in plant biology.
I think that you work with plants and horses.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Horses eat plants, and
I
that's
think
the party.
in my head, you go to work, you get on a horse, and you ride into the woods, and then somebody inevitably goes, "Can you talk to us about horse legs?" And you take a horse leg, you put it in your car, and you drive to Penn State,
Yeah.
and then you throw the horse leg on the table, and you go, "Let's talk about horse legs."
That's very close.
That's essentially everything you've ever told me about your job.
very
I don't know
close.
much else. So
It's
that's
not
what
wrong.
it is in my head.
And there's some horse stool.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
poop too.
Lot of
You
poop,
got to
yeah.
stop putting horse shit in the refrigerator.
No. It has to be refrigerated.
But it doesn't
Tests
have
won't
to be
work.
next to my dinner.
Oh,
It's in like 10 layers of plastic. It's fine.
it's
Moving right
all
along.
It's all right. I also thought that it was really interesting. Mithithil,
No.
the River Horwell.
That's not how you say it.
How do you say it?
Mithithil.
Mithithil?
It's Mithithel. It's like
That's how
Mithithel.
Mithithil.
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 Mithithil. Mithithil.
Mithithil. I need to go to the
Mithithil.
bathroom.
Mithithil.
Mithithel.
A Mithithil.
You go pay yourself.
It's the River Horwell. Which isn't much better.
This is not going well.
Okay, Chris, get it together. All right. So Mithithil is the river.
Oh my God.
All right.
All right, it's impossible to say it without sounding like you have a lisp.
Mithithil.
Wait.
Children.
Mithithil. The river Horwell.
So I want to bring up something that's been on my mind. The hobbits go to bed and they sort of fall asleep, and Strider's sitting and he's smoking his pipe. He's an avid smoker. It's not good for his lungs. He's sitting there smoking his pipe and they go to bed. They wake up and he's up,
I noticed that too.
but he's on watch.
Strider never sleeps.
Strider never sleeps.
What?
Note number 11.
He's a human. We know how much
he's
humans
not
need
an
to
elf,
sleep.
right? He's
Yeah.
a human. So how is he? What's going on?
He
can't just
never
stay up all
sleeps.
night and then just get up and be like, time to do 35 miles in one day. I slept 0.
He's also a ranger. He's a Numenorian. We can't really expand on this because of where we are in the books.
There are regular people and there are cool people.
Say it vaguely.
And Strider is a cool people.
Okay.
Well, I need 9 hours of sleep a night, so
That's why you're in the Hobbit camp.
She needs 9 hours of sleep, breakfast, tea, cat time, lap time, second tea, lunch,
no coffee.
Who's lap time?
Cat.
cat,
The cat.
Okay.
coffee,
Oh my God.
lunch snack, afternoon walkabout.
I do need afternoon caffeine.
Strider doesn't apparently need anything.
Yeah, right?
has a pipe.
And it kind of leads me to
And a good song.
Yeah, a pipe and a good song is all Strider needs. This made me think about something, which, so you have this you have Strider who is basically pushing forward with no rest, no sleep, as if the lack of food, the lack of sleep is not, affecting him in the slightest bit. And he's not the only one. So also our friend Lazarus,
Which is what we named.
we named
Bill
the pony.
Ferny's
Bill
pony.
Ferny's pony.
Not an official
Yeah.
name. It's Pat's name for the pony.
It's the only pony.
It's the only pony in the
Yeah.
story that makes sense to talk about him that way. But he has turned out to be a bit of a cool guy.
Yeah, I really thought that in this chapter. I mean, throughout the book so far, the ponies have been incredibly valuable. But in this chapter in particular, and I guess the last one, these equines have saved the day.
Yes.
Right? For one thing, we've got Lazarus, our Bill Ferny pony, who's carrying all their gear, which is great.
And then Frodo.
And then Frodo, when
the
he can
dead
no
weight.
longer walk. But at one point it says he's picked up a skill for picking out paths. So
Yeah.
he's got Frodo on his back who can't be jostled. He can't be shook around very much. So he's being very gentle and ginger picking out this path.
Yes.
Because he loves his new people. And
he also
knows.
thrives under Sam's care. He has a
Yeah.
special affinity to Sam, which again made me just love Sam even more.
Yeah, but let's not forget that Lazarus has legitimately spent the last 6 years of his life not being fed.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or cared for or
Yeah,
Or
loved.
cared for or loved.
Respected.
And not only does he just do a good job of finding the path when nobody else can find it, but he makes sure that Frodo doesn't get jostled.
So
What a caring pony.
abject
What a sweet little
terror
guy.
and occasional apples is still better than the life he had.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder when he gets to eat and what they are feeding him.
Probably grass.
But
And apples.
they're going 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
Horses gotta eat, man.
And speaking of horses, this is not the only time that a horse kind of saves them.
Yeah, the fact that what do we have a name for the elf horse?
So I think I know the name just from reading the chapter when they do a command. And I think at the end it's the horse's name. I think it's Asphaleth.
Asphaleth.
Yeah, because
That
it's
feels like an elf horse's
'Cause it's
name.
the
spelled
Glorfindel curse.
AS.
Too expensive, Asphaleth.
No, but it's like they say
hate you so much.
I'm just gonna ignore that. So in the last near the end of the chapter, they say Norolim Asphaleth. And I feel like Asphaleth is the name of the
Yeah,
horse.
yeah.
But it could also be Elvish for a command. I did not look up the Elvish. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't. I didn't do it.
Either way, this horse
do it.
is the only reason.
I didn't Google search Tolkien verse.
Oh,
And be
no.
like, oh, what's the name?
Yeah, well, this horse is the only reason the adventure does not end.
Yeah, this horse is the only reason Frodo's still alive. So, in this story so far, the horses have really been the heroes.
I love that. Yeah.
I love that,
Well, not just horses, the ponies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
well,
equines.
Laura, you
Hold
gotta
on.
be inclusive.
Equines.
I'll tell you about horses sometime if you want to know about them.
Okay, all right,
So
good.
wait, is
Enlighten me.
a pony different from a horse?
Yes. Well, size
In what way?
Size only.
So it's only size.
Well-
So a small pony, or I'm sorry, a large pony is a small horse, and a small horse is a
My
large
the only
pony.
one is having fucking.
Deja vu?
We've
Deja
had this
vu?
conversation already.
Yeah, we have had this conversation already.
We had this conversation in chapter 5. It's now been 7
That episode
chapters
just came out
later.
today.
That was like 4 months ago. You had a question earlier about like what's going on? Why are they not dead? Why are things as easy as they are?
Yeah, so I
Or they
mentioned
seem.
every time
Right.
that I read the chapter twice. So the first time they're on the road, they find the last bridge. They expect to find Black Riders there, and they're not. And they're like, okay, this is great. Let's go. And I'm thinking, like, why is this so easy? Like, there's at least 5 Black Riders looking for them. How are they just walking down the road? And then, after I read the chapter and looked back, I was like, oh, it's because Glorfindel has been chasing the Black Riders off the road this whole time.
Whipping
badass.
ass.
Yeah.
But and about Black Riders, real quick, a point I don't know if we touched on, like, is this is the first time we find out how many there are?
Yes,
right?
it is. On page
It's
208.
not just
I'm going to
your
geek out.
book.
It's like
Thought math
on
was
like
your
the
strong
second
point.
to last page of the chapter.
Yes.
They
4
finally
plus 5
say
is 9.
the 9
Plus 2.
right in, and it's like chills go up your
Ooh,
spine.
yeah,
You're like,
right? But it is, and it's the 9, and it's capital N.
Yes.
It is like
A
this is
proper noun.
thing.
So I had a question about trolls, and it may not be specific to this book, but I was thinking about like mythological creatures, and trolls come up everywhere. They are in folk tales and fairy tales and fables. Do we know, like, where does the concept of a troll come from?
so to my limited knowledge, when I was like very curious about trolls and studying them, it first originated in Norse mythology. The first tales were told over a fire and which were passed down generation to generation. But the first books and like lore of trolls came from the 13th century.
Ooh.
And it came from words of like trolldom, trollforth, which meant witches and witchcraft. And it was all about these pagan beings who lived in the night and they hunted people and they were evil and dark and very powerful and they were very mysterious, but they were awful.
So evil shit that lives in the woods and eats people.
Yes, they always were around forests
Okay.
and lived in nature. Okay.
They
And
fed off people?
yes, they loved blood
And bones.
and bones. They were very archaic evil where they fed off humanity and that's how they survived.
For me, the oldest portrayal of trolls that I can remember is David the Gnome.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
No.
Oh, now it's Laura's turn.
Sorry.
David the Gnome. It was
I don't
like
know
the
what that
little
is.
animated series.
What?
What did you
He
say?
also
I
doesn't
said
know what
I
it
don't
is.
know what it is.
Oh, you fucker. All right. David the Gnome with the little red hat and they got a little fox friend and they do good. And there's trolls and the trolls are, Jesus Christ. The bad guys are always these trolls. But one thing that's very clear is that they eat people and if they get exposed to sun, they die.
They go into
turn to
stone.
stone. That is literally in the opening credits of every episode. I remember that because I was
That's
like,
the one thing of trolls that's like across the board.
It's funny how we have these mythic foes that sort of over time there's like this universal understanding of the rules of these foes, even though it's made up. It's made up to the point where if people create, like if there was a movie that came out that had trolls and the trolls are walking around in the daytime, I bet you there'd be people who would go, trolls can't walk around in the daytime.
Right.
There's rules.
Well, that's kind of my point is like, this is a fairly universally understood mythical foe. So like, how did it get that way?
so there's all these stories, these sort of universal themes in storytelling. Like, don't go out into the woods at night. There's things in the wilderness that will get you. Something eats your bones. It's why
Are trolls bears?
Maybe. An interesting thing that you brought up was like the first time trolls came into writing was in the 13th century.
Yes.
One of the things that we all know, blood-sucking nightmare creature that doesn't like Christians, is Dracula, right?
Yes.
Dracula comes from a real historical figure.
Yes.
One of the reasons we know about Dracula as a story
Vlad
is
the
because
Impaler.
Vlad the Impaler was a prince in Eastern Europe, and he fought the Ottomans and the Hungarians, and he did a bunch of weird
Put their
shit.
heads on spikes and bathe in their blood.
Put everyone on spikes. But one of the things he did was there were a bunch of Germans who lived in Transylvania and in Wallachia, the country he's actually from. And he hated them and they hated him. So around the time the printing press was invented in like the late 15th century, one of the things they did was like, this guy's a fucking lunatic. And they created books and writing about it. And so it was this moment of crystallization of what this story is. The stories we are told and the way we understand them and the universal rules of being a troll and these monsters and all these things are impacted by the media through which they are consumed. But from The Hobbit, there was a moment where they call back to the events of The Hobbit and the trolls and everything, and they find a stone when they find the troll hole and like after they find the trolls and everything. And Strider's like, that's got dwarf runes on it and this, that, and the other. And even Pippin, who's like, I know the stories. After these trolls died, they buried a shitload of gold. Do you think that's where it is? Is that where the buried treasure's at? And like, they're like, oh, maybe. And Frodo's like very matter-of-factly like, there's nothing left. Whatever Bilbo had, he gave away because he felt like it was the profit of robbery.
Yeah.
And that explains so much about the perception of Bilbo and Bilbo's wealth, right?
Yes.
He threw parties, he gave money away, he gave gifts away. Because imagine if if you felt like your entire life was built on blood money.
Yeah.
Give it away.
Right?
Yeah.
So like that's a really cool callback to all of that and explains a lot of Bilbo's motives that like shape Frodo's whole ass life.
Yeah, and speaking of Frodo and motives, and this is much later on in the chapter. So Frodo is told by Glorfindel, you have to go on my horse. He will not throw you off. I will tell him to go. He's faster than anyone. This is the only way you'll be safe. And he's like, I cannot leave my friends to die. And then he's like, hey, buddy, you are the problem. When you leave, the peril will end. And in that moment, Frodo's like,
Ah, shit.
oh shit, I am the problem. And I feel like this is such an important moment. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because up until this time, I don't think Frodo realized how much weighs on him, really, or realistically, with his friends. He's like, this is a dangerous task. We're all in this together. And until Glorfindel said that, Frodo not realize it actually only weighs on his shoulders. And all these people are just sacrificing their lives and their safety for him. And he's then like half dead on this horse, like, giddy up. He's like, I'm going. And I think that's just so important to talk about, because even as a reader, you understand it on one level. But when you hear that line and then you see the reaction, you're like, oh.
If you leave, the rest of us will be
There
fine.
will be no story. The rest of them are fine. They're going to just live their lives out. It's on him. But also, devil's advocate, he needs them.
Yes, he does.
Imagine how Frodo would feel if Merry had been stabbed.
Oh my God.
So I have a question for everybody. At the very end of the chapter, basically, like, it seems like all is lost and the Black Riders are starting to cross the river to get to Frodo on the opposite bank. And suddenly the river rises up and a flood just washes these Black Riders away. And Frodo's like, oh, that's great. And so he looks across the bank and he sees behind, there's a couple Black Riders left that aren't in the river yet. And behind them, he sees this white figure of light and some like small figures like waving flames at the Black Riders' horses to get them to go into the river. So I don't know. I had a couple of guesses in my mind as to what this white shining figure was. And I was curious what everybody else thought as to who this was. If you know, I guess don't tell us.
I think that that all elves glow. This is
Okay.
this is a normal thing. We know Glorfindel's there. So I think it's Glorfindel and probably the hobbits.
Where'd they get the fire from? Then?
Strider's a ranger. He's probably got it in his back pocket.
Just a little bic.
Might be. Honestly, I don't know.
What did you think it was?
Well, it really called back into focus like Gandalf and his magic.
Oh, his fire magic. His fire
so,
tricks.
Like, we assume that elves, have this magic as well and this ability to like summon floods and whatnot. But yeah, the magic part really, because like we don't know elves that well yet, and we don't know their magical abilities that well yet.
Yeah.
So like to me, it called out Gandalf.
I was going to make a joke where we talk about everyone who's over 4 feet tall as an adult. But also, Farmer Maggot's the only adult we've met under 5 feet.
Farmer Maggot.
It's like that's it, right? Like so, it's like who are these small?
It's
things?
Lobelia.
Yeah.
Oh my
Riding
God.
it. Yeah.
Oh my God, Lobelia is the only other adult, and it's
Also,
only
shout
because.
out to our listener who found out that it's Lobelia and not Lobella.
Oh fuck. Okay,
Somebody learned that watching this podcast.
that's great. I love that.
I don't know about you guys, but after all of this, I feel like I deserve a treat.
Oh my God, I forgot. Yo, I'm so excited because I have a little bit of inside knowledge because Laura and I live together. She my wife. So I got to smell this happen.
Okay.
I can't wait.
I'm so
Is
fucking
it treat time?
It's treat time.
Let's do it.
All right,
so
let's go.
excited.
So this was an extremely difficult chapter to come up with food for. It was very plot based. Very little food was mentioned. However, I did have one slight hint as to the food that I should use to make this week's food for thought.
Everclear.
Well, that was one of them when they mentioned the elf's clear liquor that made all their food taste better. However, I opted not to just give you all shots of Everclear, so you're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Meh.
They mentioned stale bread and dried fruit. And I was sitting here going, well, I could give them stale bread and dried fruit. I don't think they'd appreciate that very much. And then it finally occurred to me, what do you make out of stale bread and dried fruit? But bread pudding.
Oh, nice.
Yo.
So
Heck
this
yeah.
is a very special bread pudding because it's based on a custard, which is made of egg. So this is an eggless, a vegan bread
thank
pudding.
you. Thank you.
So we don't kill Chris and his
First
egg
of all,
allergy.
I just want to clarify, not vegan.
Not
just can't do
vegan.
eggs.
His allergy.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no eggs in this whatsoever, and maybe it will taste good. Oh, that may be way too much. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay.
It's kind of deep.
Okay, that's not eggshell on the side.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Little. Wait, how do I do this?
cheersing? I think with a spoon.
With a spoon?
Yeah.
There you go. Spoon. Feed yourself.
Save yourself.
Feed yourself.
Maybe
It's
I
very
should have used
good.
forks.
Wow, that's so good.
I'm going to start serving people spoons with very forkable foods.
Good.
Like, no fork for pasta, just simply spoon.
You know, with some pastas, that would be fine.
Yeah. It's very good.
This is amazing.
I'm glad you like it, especially since there's no eggs in it. I was like, oh, I don't know how it's gonna work out.
That was so good. I inhaled it.
Oh my gosh, it was so freaking yummy. Well, that's a wrap on chapter 12, the flight to
the ford.
To the ford. To the
And the next chapter is the beginning of book 2. Chapter 1, many meetings.
We hope you join us. I just want to say one more time, and I'm going to say it a couple more times in the next couple of episodes, but if you know somebody that likes Lord of the Rings, send this podcast to them. If you have friends who haven't even read the books or seen the movies at all, maybe they just want to hear a bunch of people from the East Coast talk about a fantasy book.
And
This
watch
might be,
Pat shove as much food in his mouth as possible.
he's a record maker over here.
He has a very large mouth.
But also, even if you've read the books,
yourself, Pat. All right, folks. Pat's gotta die. I gotta call an ambulance. We love you all. We'll see you on the next episode of Fool of a Took. Follow us online. Share it if you can. And and definitely don't look at him. Look at me. Right in my eyes. Ignore him. Thanks for following. We'll see you in book 2, chapter 1. Cheers.
Bye.